Well, one of the challenges we face because of the Conservatives' crash the economy and the situation we're going to inherit is that we won't be able to reverse everything that the Conservatives have done over the last 13 years.
Well, yeah, yes, you say you want decent homes for everybody, but you're the one that decided that Labour Lords should vote against the government's nutrient neutrality plans, which they claim would have seen 100,000 new homes built.
Inflation is about to hit 6%. That's the highest rate since the early 90s, when the Conservatives have been in power for over a decade.
When politicians can't explain their own pay rises, democracy itself is at stake. That's what we're witnessing in real time with Angela Rayner's disastrous interview performance. The public isn't just angry about money, they're mourning the death of straightforward political communication. Imagine being asked why you deserve more money while your customers are struggling, and responding that it's not your decision. That approach would fail in any workplace in Britain, yet it's somehow acceptable in Westminster. Today, we're looking at exactly what this communication breakdown means for accountability in our political system. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great, thank you so much. Now, back to the video. When a politician stumbles over a simple question about their own pay, it speaks volumes about what they're trying to hide. Angela Rayner's recent interview provides a masterclass in political deflection, and not in a good way. The moment she was confronted about the 2.8% pay rise for MPs that would bump their salaries to a whopping £94,000, her composure visibly crumbled. What's particularly fascinating is watching Rayner's immediate pivot away from the direct question. Rather than addressing her own compensation, she suddenly became intensely concerned about winter fuel allowance and the triple lock pension guarantee.
We'll know somebody at the moment who is trapped either in rented accommodation or they're in, substandard accommodation or they're in temporary accommodation because we don't have the social housing we need in this country. The house building that I'm proposing at the start of conference that we'll be announcing more this week is about actually giving people secure futures and making sure that we can tackle things like child poverty to get around the table to make that happen. We put an amendment down which could have delivered on the programme. The government weren't listening. We don't believe that you have to wreck our environment to deliver the homes. We can do both of those things.
Classic misdirection. When cornered about your own financial gain, quickly point to how much you care about vulnerable citizens. This tactic isn't just transparent, it's insulting to viewers' intelligence. Her body language told a story her words tried to conceal. The stuttering, the hesitations, the uncomfortable shifting. These nonverbal cues betrayed her discomfort with the topic far more than any prepared statement could mask. Communication experts note that such physical manifestations of discomfort often reveal when a politician is navigating treacherous territory they'd rather avoid. MPs do not have any control over that pay rise that is completely independent of government, Rayner claimed, attempting to wash her hands of any responsibility. But this statement deserves serious scrutiny. While the Independent Parliamentary Standards Authority, IPSA, does determine MP salaries, the suggestion that MPs have absolutely no influence over the process is misleading at best. MPs have representatives on the IPSA board, creating a channel of influence that Rayner conveniently failed to mention. The false equivalence Rayner tried to establish is particularly troubling. By juxtaposing MP pay rises with protecting vulnerable citizens, she attempted to create a moral shield against legitimate questions about parliamentary compensation. This rhetorical sleight of hand implies that questioning MP salaries somehow means you don't care about vulnerable people, a manipulative tactic that undermines genuine political discourse. What makes Rayner's evasion even more glaring is how it compares to the actions of other MPs throughout history. Many politicians have demonstrated that while they may not directly control the pay-setting process, they certainly have agency in how they respond to increases. Some have rejected pay rises outright, or committed to donating the additional income to charity. These examples stand in stark contrast to Rayner's implication that MPs are merely passive recipients of whatever compensation comes their way. The gap between MP salaries and average UK wages tells its own story. With parliamentary compensation now approximately 30% higher than what the average UK worker earns, MPs like Rayner are increasingly disconnected from the financial realities faced by their constituents. During a cost of living crisis, this disconnect becomes not just problematic, but potentially explosive for public trust. The truth about MP pay determination is far more nuanced than Rayner's dismissive response suggests. While IPSA was indeed established to ensure independence in setting parliamentary compensation, the relationship between MPs and this body isn't as hands-off as she implies. The very purpose of IPSA was to restore public confidence after the expenses scandal, yet evasive answers like Rayner's only serve to erode that trust once again. Politicians who can't straightforwardly address questions about their own financial circumstances raise serious concerns about transparency and accountability. If straightforward facts about compensation, information that is ultimately publicly available anyway, cause such discomfort and evasion, what happens when truly controversial topics arise?
But we've had 13 years of Conservative failure, a crashed economy, so we're going to inherit a very difficult programme if we were lucky enough to win the next general election, and therefore we're realistic about what we're able to achieve, but we will change Britain for the better.
Millions of British workers now face a further pay cut, and his Chancellor is handing them a tax hike. That fears about inflation were unfounded. But working people across the country are starting the new year facing rising bills and ballooning prices. So how did he get it so wrong?
Rayner's deflection techniques, while common in political circles, represent exactly the kind of communication breakdown that fuels public cynicism about politicians. The real issue isn't even about whether MPs deserve their compensation. It's about the inability to engage honestly with legitimate questions. When a public servant can't look voters in the eye and give a straight answer about their own pay packet. While many citizens struggle financially, it creates a credibility gap that no amount of pivoting to other topics can bridge. What we're witnessing isn't merely a politician dodging questions, it's the erosion of democracy's foundation. Recent polling confirms what many of us already suspected. Public trust in politicians is plummeting, particularly regarding financial transparency. Citizens are increasingly convinced their representatives aren't being honest about their own financial benefits, especially when those benefits come during a cost of living crisis that's crushing ordinary families. This breakdown in straightforward communication has consequences far beyond a single awkward interview. Political communication experts warn that when politicians like Rayner resort to evasive tactics rather than addressing financial matters transparently, they're actively undermining democratic engagement. The disconnect between elected officials and voters grows into a chasm that may never be bridged. The fundamental issue isn't about percentage points or salary figures, it's about honesty. Can our representatives look constituents in the eye and speak plainly about their choices? When the answer appears to be no, we must question what kind of democracy we're left with. A system where those in power deflect, distract, and dissemble isn't just frustrating, it's dangerous. Democracy requires truth, and without it, we're all poorer.